In the annals of human history, few events have left an impact as profound and devastating as the nuclear bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. The immediate fallout was horrifying. Cities leveled, lives extinguished in the blink of an eye. The death toll was staggering, reaching into the hundreds of thousands, but the horror didn't end there. Survivors and their descendants faced the invisible enemy of radiation, leading to a surge in cancer, birth defects, and other illnesses. The bombings not only decimated two cities, but also reshaped the world's understanding of warfare and humanity's capacity for destruction. To truly comprehend the magnitude of these events, one must understand the series of events that led to them. The stage was World War II, a global conflict of unparalleled scale and devastation. Among the key players, Imperial Japan, hungry for power and territory, was leaving a trail of destruction across the Pacific. This aggressive expansion was a spark that lit a fuse, culminating in the infamous attack on Pearl Harbor in December 1941. Meanwhile, in a secret laboratory in the United States, the most ambitious and terrifying project in human history was taking shape. The Manhattan Project, as it was known, aimed to harness the destructive power of the atom. The brightest minds of a generation, led by the likes of Oppenheimer and Fermi, worked tirelessly, driven by a desperate race against time and an even more desperate need to end the war. The decision to use this new weapon was not taken lightly. The moral and ethical implications weighed heavily on those in power, but ultimately, the belief that it could bring a swift end to the war and save countless lives won out. The target, Japan. As the world was consumed by the fires of war, the stage was set for a cataclysmic show of power. On August 6 and 9, 1945, the world bore witness to the horrifying power of nuclear weapons. This was the day the sun rose twice, both times casting a shadow of despair and destruction. In the early hours of August 6, the Enola Gay, a Boeing B-29 Superfortress bomber, took off from Tinian Island in the Pacific. On board was a weapon like no other, a uranium-235 bomb nicknamed Little Boy. 6 hours into the flight, the city of Hiroshima came into view. At approximately 8:15 a.m., Little Boy was released, detonating about 600 meters above the city. 3 days later, the Bockscar, another B-29 bomber, carried a plutonium-239 bomb known as Fat Man. The target was the city of Nagasaki. At around 11:02 a.m., Fat Man was dropped, exploding at an altitude of about 500 meters. The two bombs resulted in an immediate and unimaginable devastation. Buildings were flattened, fires ignited, and a forceful shockwave radiated outwards, obliterating everything in its path. The human cost was even more harrowing. Survivors, known as hibakusha, described the horrific scenes of destruction and human suffering that unfolded in the aftermath. People were severely burned, others were trapped under collapsed buildings, and many more succumbed to the deadly effects of radiation. The total number of casualties is estimated to be in the hundreds of thousands. In the blink of an eye, two bustling cities were reduced to rubble, and hundreds of thousands of lives were extinguished. The bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki brought an abrupt end to World War II, but their repercussions continued to echo through time. In the immediate aftermath, Japan surrendered unconditionally, marking the end of a 6-year global conflict. However, the bombings also signaled the beginning of a new era, one shaped by the terrifying potential of nuclear weaponry. The world had witnessed the devastating power of atomic energy, and it would forever alter the course of human history. This moment marked the onset of the Cold War, a silent battle of ideologies, politics, and military power between the United States and the Soviet Union. It was an era characterized by an arms race, as nations sought to develop and amass nuclear weapons, with the constant threat of mutual destruction looming over humanity. Parallelly, the horrific aftermath of the bombings sparked a global movement for nuclear disarmament. People across the world began to comprehend the magnitude of nuclear warfare and rallied for peace. International organizations, governments, and activists have since worked tirelessly to limit the proliferation of these weapons and strive towards a world free from the threat of nuclear war. The bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki serve as a stark reminder of the devastating impact of war and the catastrophic potential of nuclear weapons. They taught us lessons in humility, responsibility, and the value of peace. As we remember the tragic events of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, let us strive to ensure that such devastation is never repeated. The bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki remain a stark reminder of the terrible cost of war and the devastating power of nuclear weapons. They underline the unimaginable impact, the catastrophic path, and the enduring aftermath of these events. In remembering this dark chapter of our history, may we find the resolve to create a future of peace and understanding.